Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the Q2 FY22 earnings conference call of IFB Industries Limited, hosted by Nirmal Bang Equities Private Limited. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star, then zero on your touchtone telephone. Please note that this conference has been recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Mayank Bhandari from Nirmal Bang Equities. Thank you and over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Jacob. Nirmal Bang Equities welcome you all to the Q2 FY22 results conference call of IFB Industries. The management is represented by Mr. Shobhit Chatterjee, Director and CFO, Mr. Rajasankar Ray, MD and CEO, Home Appliance Division, Mr. Arup Das, Head of Marketing Engineering Division, and Mr. Anand Reddy, CEO of Motors Division. I now hand over the call to management for their opening remarks, post which we can take questions from participants. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mayank. Thank you. Good afternoon to all of you. I welcome you all for the IFB Industries Investors Call for the second quarter FY22. Today we have with us Mr. Rajasankar Ray, MD and CEO of Home Appliance Division, Mr. Arup Das, Head of Sales and Marketing Engineering Division, and Mr. Anand Reddy, CEO of Motor Division. We hope each one of you and your family are safe and in good health. A warm season greeting to all of you. Now I will come to the results. During the second quarter ended September 21, the company has reported a total income of 958 crores, a growth of 34% over the corresponding quarter of the previous year. During the period, the consumer sentiment was good and market demand remained healthy. EBITDA for the quarter was rupees 74 crores as against rupees 85 crores during corresponding quarter of the previous year. In spite of revenue growth, EBITDA was lower compared to last year, mainly due to following: hike in commodity price, which could not be fully recovered through price increase; increase in promotion expense in AC and e-commerce business; and besides that, last year we graded salary card in first quarter, and there was no increment last year. So as a result, there is a gap. YTD revenue for the period ended September reported a total revenue of 1510 crores, a growth of 52% compared to same period last year. EBITDA for the quarter for the YTD was 44 crore against 54 crore during corresponding quarter of the previous year. Lower EBITDA was mainly due to commodity price hike, like I already explained. The same thing, we have spent 30 crores in sales promotion expense, which is additional, higher salary compared to last year, and the commodity price hike, which is the main thing. With this, I will request you to start the question and answer session.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and one on your touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and two. Participants are requested to use handset while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Abhishek Ghosh. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Sir, if you can just elaborate the deterioration in gross margin that one has seen. In subsequent quarters, how should one see the restoration of that? And also, is it to do with unfavorable product mix because your proportion of microwave and ACs is kind of going up vis-a-vis that of front loaders. So any thoughts around the gross margin aspect of it, if you can throw some light? Thanks.
So this is Raj Shankar here. The reduction in the gross margin by the 2% or 3% that you will see in the data is coming because of the unrecovered portion of the material cost, and this is across the product categories. What we have done is that on the import categories like dishwashers, microwaves, we have begun to pass through the price increases based on forex change or the changes from the pricing at the source. This started in the month of October. So by the month of December, that is in this quarter, this will be completed. On the front-loading washing machines with an upgrade in the platform, we have passed through some portion of the unrecovered material cost. So the remaining portion which is not passed through will be passed through in Q4. Right now, as of this moment, we are not able to see an opportunity to completely pass through. We will do that in Q4. So by Q4, this gross margin will go back to what it was.
Okay. And sir,
does that answer your question, please?
Yes, sir. Sir, what is the kind of price hike that you would have to take? Is it like a 3 to 5% kind of a price hike?
It's about weighted average is about 4% across all product categories, basically.
Oh, okay. That's helpful. But you have also made a mention in the press release that these price hikes may have some impact on the demand in the fourth quarter. Sir, if you can just help us understand that aspect.
See, what we have written in the investor presentation is that the unrecovered portion of the material cost is an issue with everyone. And when the pass-through price increases are made of what is pending, and there is also an issue that is now emerging about the steel industry wanting to push for further price increases. Over the last 15 days, there is an aluminium-related shortage and price increase that is emerging now. So what we have written is that with the price increases being made by everybody into the market, which we expect to happen in Q4, there is an issue around whether the demand will sustain, which is a risk to be just kept in mind. That is why we have put it there.
Till now, have you seen any, you already almost half the quarter done, have you seen any impact on demand or the demand momentum whenever you have initiated these price hikes till now?
As of now, we have not seen any change in demand. Demand, touchwood, has been actually quite healthy.
Okay. And so the other thing is, if you look at your growth, especially on a 2-year CAGR basis, the growth is very strong. But sir, that's largely led by, microwave and ACs. So any thoughts around the growth trajectory in front load and top load? Any market share indications? If you can just help us with that.
So on the front load and the top load, our growth in line with what we want has to come from extraction from the network that we have. So there are two levers in this. One is that we have a very large distribution network in place from which the extraction that we are getting is something that we are not happy with. And there is a lot of work being done to fix those issues in terms of manning at the distributor end, in terms of the visit frequency to the smaller counters. So this is one lever. The second lever is that as far as the key accounts are concerned or the larger stores are concerned, we had shared that post the price increase in January, February, we had lost share there. That share we have partially recovered in the June to, let's say, September period. And the remaining share recovery is what we are doing through basically change in the product placement strategy and also backed up by counter level manning. So there have been gaps that we have had. We are filling up those gaps. Maybe 70-75% is already done. 25% is for November and December. And with that, we hope to get our growth trajectory back.
Raj, this is Provi Chatterjee. Can I add one line?
Yes, please.
But one thing I want to mention, Mr. Ghosh, that both FL and TL we got around YTD 30-33% growth.
Correct.
So there is momentum, Mr. Ghosh, this year, and we hope to increase that momentum. As far as top loaders are concerned, about 3 or 4 months back, we had introduced a series of top loaders with heaters, which was quite unique in terms of a complete series with heaters. That is getting a lot of traction, and we hope to increase momentum on top loaders with that as well.
Okay, sir. I have few more questions. I'll come back in the queue. Thank you so much for answering my question.
Thank you. A reminder to all participants, you may enter star 1 to ask a question. The next question is from the line of Srinath V from Bellwether Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi. Just wanted to understand, what is working for us in the microwave space, because the numbers have been really strong. Is it category growth? Have we gained share? And in the investor deck, we've spoken about our new product range. Can you kind of dwell upon that in little more detail, as in what are those features that are really grabbing attention? Because I don't think we've ever done this kind of 100 crore plus sales in the segment. And previously, there was a margin issue in this particular category, I think, because Samsung had played a price war. And so just want to also broadly understand how the pricing scenario is given the very strong demand in this segment.
So, Srinath, I think 2 things are working for us. One is, if you recall, over the last 2-3 quarters, we have been working a lot on the product range in terms of the models, the capacities, the features, and also picking and choosing the model channel combination. So I think over the last 2-3 quarters, they have been settling into the market, and this momentum in microwaves is actually now probably the 3rd quarter that we are seeing the kind of momentum we have. The second thing, so I think the first thing is that the product range planning, etc., is working for us. The second is that we have managed supplies quite well this time, in terms of ensuring that our fill rates and availabilities, etc., are always, in excess of 85% plus. I think we have also gained because the availability has been much better from our end. So I would put it to these 2 reasons mainly. As far as the margin structure is concerned, over the last 1 year, we have been taking incremental price increases with each, model introduction to fix the issues of margin that we have lost with the changes in the import duty, forex, etc. So that's what is ongoing. Currently, the margin structure is healthy. It will get better because we are taking price increases with each new introduction. And we have been able to pass it through to the market as on date.
Perfect. And are our market shares around the 25% that it's historically been, or just want to get a
our market share has risen by 2-3% in the last 2 quarters. So I would, earlier we were around the 20% mark. I would expect us to be around the 22-23% mark now.
Okay. And we'll largely be in line with LGN in a leadership position, right?
Yes. It goes up and down a little bit. Currently, my data is that we are ahead of them.
Got it. The second set of questions I would like to understand, both in the investor deck and in the opening statement, we have made remarks, marketing spends on e-commerce. So are the nature of these spends like a more like a subvention, or is it this advertising spends on getting our listings in the top 3, 4 when search is done, or is it a discount that we're giving? Just want to understand the marketing initiatives we are taking on e-commerce, and corollary to that, what kind of market shares do we enjoy in our key product categories in the e-commerce space?
So we don't count discounts as marketing spend. That is a part of the overall pricing and scheme structure. So that is not included. But spends on content marketing on the platform and spends on, let's say, programs around exchange and finance, those are counted under the marketing spends. And that is what we have increased. Our platform shares on e-commerce are higher than our overall country shares specifically.
Got it. Perfect. And last one would like to understand the impact of semiconductor shortage in our 3 key product segments, say in top load, front load, and in ACs. What kind of impacts are the lower end SKUs also use significant amount of semiconductors, or is it largely for the top end products? And so if you could dwell on that, and how would we manage our AC season given the current tightness in semiconductors?
So when the shortage had begun in the supply chain last year, what we had done is to add sources. So if we are working with one semiconductor source, we went to 2, and in a few cases 3, and that development program is now complete. So we have 2 to 3 alternatives for the pipeline. Now this is point 1. However, having addressed availability has not taken out the cost pressure. So let's say if a particular chip we were buying at $0.50 per unit, in the month of April, May, we were buying the same chips at $3.50 a unit, in some cases $4. So there has been a significant increase in the cost of the semiconductors. As far as, let's say, this quarter or the next quarter is concerned, or even the first quarter of the next financial year for the air conditioners, we think that the availability will be tight but is manageable. But as far as the cost structure is concerned, I think that will remain under pressure. So you may have availability, but it will come at a premium.
Got it. Just listening in a last for the AC season next year. So when we did our dealer check, we got a very strange feedback that if we don't have a third wave that miraculously seems to always come during the AC season, effectively we would have 3 years of backed up demand, maybe the third season, where we may have demand outstripping the supply of the whole industry, given the import constraints. And on the other side, if we do have a third wave, then, they may be oversupply, and therefore retailers are reasonably apprehensive in carrying inventory. So just wanted to understand how you're viewing it, and would it kind of make sense for us, given that we are new to the market on a larger capacity, to take a call to maybe hold inventory as we go into March and take the risk, especially given our balance sheet strength? Thank you.
Yeah, so that's a very interesting question, Srinath. And my answer would be that, first of all, the actual customer offtake of the AC has been quite healthy last year as well as this year. So it is not as if the pandemic resulted in demand going to zero. As far as the retailers are concerned, they have had healthy sales to customers. So let's say even this year, after the lockdowns were released, etc., even in the month of June, July, August, September, there has been healthy customer sales. So I would not say that there is 2 years of pent-up demand waiting to be serviced. Yes, there is pent-up demand, but a lot of it has resulted in sales. So my first point would be this. As far as we are concerned, Our primary agenda is to expand our footprint. So if you look at the number of accounts we service compared to the industry, we are still very small. We need to ensure that our ACs get placed everywhere. And we will build up inventory in the month of November, December and January for the season. But we are not going to do any exceptional inventory increase per se. I hope that we have a good season ahead because it will help us to establish the AC volume which for the last 2 years we've been wanting to do, but we've really not been able to do because of these lockdowns. Does that answer your question, Srinath?
Perfect. Thanks a lot. I'll get back to the question queue. Very insightful.
Okay.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Lakshmi Narayan from ICICI Prudential Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Thank you. So I just want to understand your views on the cash flows because we have grown very well across various divisions. But from a cash flow point of view, there has been a decline in the operating cash flows. So can you just touch upon that? What is the steady state you would like to be? And any
please.
That is my first question is related to cash flows, and the second is that you touched upon AC, and we know and you have mentioned that your aspiration is to grow at least 300,000 volume in the next 2 years. Broadly, what is your go-to-market on ACs when you actually scale up? Is it going to be through the IFB points or any different way in which you are planning to do for your AC thing in the next 2-3 years? These are 2 questions.
Mr. Chatterjee, you can answer the cash flow question, then I'll take the...
Okay. These first, because first quarter, the margin was negative, number one. And the working capital movement was also adverse because the reason being the seasonal AC sales did not happen. Also, that is the main 2 reasons. That is why it is showing negative cash flow, free cash flow. But I am quite hopeful by end of third quarter, situation will reverse.
Rajshankar here. As far as the question on the AC go-to-market is concerned, our focus is on 2 heads. The first head is our reach. So currently the placement of the air conditioner range across counters, we are at a level of roughly about 2,100 to 2,200. And before December, our aim is to lift this to about 4,500 counters. So this is the first part of the go-to-market. The second part is, unlike the previous 2 years, this year, in terms of the clarity to the channel, in terms of the supplies, the model mixes, the model ranges, etc., we would be in a position to have a completely signed off conclusion by the end of November. So action 1, reach. Action 2, the supply situation and the model mix clarity. These are the 2 things that we are working on right now.
Got it. And with respect to the OE channel, what has been the traction in AC OEs?
So the OEE is currently going on with 2 players, and by December we expect it to expand to 4 buyers. And our agenda of doing about 200,000 within the next year and a half per annum to OEM, we are still working on it, and we think it is on track.
Got it. So my third question is related to your engineering division. There has been a pending price increases, what you actually mentioned in your investor presentation. Can you just help us understand what is the target EBT or EBITDA you are looking at for your engineering division?
I will take the question. This is Arup here. Coming to your first part of the question, is as far as the pending prices increase is concerned, all the OEMs like Maruti, Honda, Hero, name them, there is always a lag of a quarter, if not more. They give the increases with retrospective effect. So for quarter two, when we did the billing, those increases which happened in quarter two did not reflect in the part cost. That gets reflected in the part cost in Q3 when they pass on the increase with retrospective effect. So what has been said is 2.2 crore related, it's 2.2 plus 0.97 for stamping, 3.17 crore, which we are scheduled to get in Q3. So it's the Q2 impact passed on to Q3 because that's the procedure which is followed in the automotive OEM as on today.
Got it. And what target margins you have for this division and the growth prospects there? Looking at likely 3 to 5 years.
As far as growth is concerned, you might have seen we have grown engineering division in the last quarter. If you compare, it has a growth of around 30%. We are having very aggressive growth targets. So we don't give guidances, both in terms of top line as well as the margin. But we can assure you, we have very aggressive targets for this division, and we hope to keep within that line.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you may press star 1 to ask a question. The next question is from the line of Manoj Gori from Equity Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity, sir. So my first question is on the demand front. So if we look at like whatever checks we have done, and if we look at some of the industry reports, the demand seem to be there seem to be some sluggishness during August and September versus year ago period. So can you give a broader sense like how the overall demand environment is playing out? Because we have obviously gained market share and we have relatively done far better. So can you throw some light on the overall demand front?
Manoj, I think that the demand is healthy, and when people compare it to the last year, for let's say July or August, what happened last year is that April, May were near zero. So when things opened up in the second half of June, there was a surge. But this time, it wasn't a total shutdown, barring the month of May, because April things were going. June, many places actually started. So some amount of the surge of last year, it was expected that this year it would not be so much. But if you look at the overall, let us say April to October, and it is an apple to apple because last year also there was lockdown, this year also there was lockdown, I think the demand has been quite healthy. And specific to ISB, Manoj, what our internal messaging is that if you look at our agenda of reach and extraction from our network that we are working on, that we are not happy with of the current state that we are in. Actually, even if the overall demand dips slightly, but we are able to complete our agenda of extraction from the network that we have, then we more than make up for any reduction in overall demand. That is how we are processing it internally.
That's right. So is my understanding correct that mathematically probably July and August might look sluggish on YOY basis, but April to September was relatively far stronger?
Actually, if you see our revenue growth for Q1 and also for Q2, you will find both percentages healthy.
Right, I agree. So my question was more from an industry point of view. So obviously your numbers have been very strong.
I think industry, yes, Q2 would have been better than Q1.
Okay. Okay. And secondly, sir, if you look at like just now you just gave an example of the chip part, like how the prices have increased. And if you look at the metal prices plus the plastic prices, obviously have gone up significantly. So what would have been the price increase taken so far? And do you feel like 3 to 4% price hikes during December and March quarter would be able to suffice the entire impact?
Yes. If we a figure of 4% covers up the entire impact. And in addition, it's a good point you raised because last 2 quarters we have not been able to pass through the price increase because of what is happening in the market. We had initiated a value engineering program internally also, and in Q4 that will also mature. So the price increase roughly about 4% plus the impact of the value engineering that will start coming from December this year, I think will more than make up for the gross margin reduction.
Right. And sir, one question for Robin sir. Like as Raj sir mentioned that they need to have some sales promoters, incremental sales promoters cover the entire channel. Do we expect like the cost to move up significantly from the current level?
No. We will maintain in the last year's level only. And that additional 30 crores till date that we have spent, we are also evaluating on that to see that how well that is spent. So product managers and marketing managers are working on it. So we will maintain the similar level like last year. And in the meantime, we are evaluating what is done good and what is not to our desired level.
So one last clarification, Raj sir. So in the first question you did said like so because of the limited opportunity, the entire price hike was not passed on. So that entire so the opportunity that you were referring or the lack of opportunity was largely due to the disruption from COVID, or is it because of the intensified competition? Just that's all from my end.
Okay, so the answer to that would be 60-70% of it was because of the experience we had in January to March, where we increased prices, but LG Samsung specifically held on to prices. And after that, for the first quarter and up to almost July, August, they didn't pass through the price increases, so we were unable to pass through the remaining portion. So 60-65% of the problem was that. The remaining was because of the market scenario under COVID, where we withheld the price increase just to wait for the demand scenario to stabilize.
Right.
So it's a combination of two reasons.
Yeah. That was very helpful, sir, and wish you all the best. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Shrikant V from Bellwether Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah. I just wanted to find out feedback on the dishwasher space, as in the lockdowns were very limited second time around and maids were reasonably allowed. But even after that also, are you seeing a secular trend in the space? Any ground feedback on, how the end consumption has been? And that last time you had said that there were demand coming from even tier 2 or tier 1 centers. It's not only the Delhi, Bombay market. So if you could spend some time on how you see the dishwasher market, given that, everything is back to normal.
So there is a reduction in the overall demand, but the spread is still very, very thin. So if we account for benefits that we can get by just making dishwashers available in more counters, that more than makes up for the reduction in the overall demand that has taken place. However, if we compare this to previous levels, definitely the change in the level is still very much valid.
Got it. And what kind of market shares are we enjoying in this space? Most of the market share understanding I had was pre-COVID, where we had a very reasonably high market share, but given other players have also come into this market, how are market shares trending now?
So in the last quarter end, when we had measured it, which was beginning July, our market share was 35-36%. We are basing this on understanding of imports, and I would expect that our share has risen in the second quarter. So we'll have to wait for the season. Last measurement was around 35-36%.
So between us and Bosch, we would control, Siemens Bosch would control large part of the market. That would be a fair understanding?
Yes.
Okay, got it. And any views on how the FMCG part or the consumable part of the business is doing, given that we have actually seen volume traction in all the washing machine products, and I'm guessing even the dishwasher products, we would have FMCG sales happening through our service network. So any what kind of growth are we seeing in that business, and how is it going? Any qualitative comments also would be very useful.
Mr. Chatterjee, would you like to answer that?
Yeah, because both additive and this thing, the growth is quite healthy actually. And through our franchisee network, we sell it and we're absolutely okay.
What kind of sales are we doing in that segment, sir? Very roughly, just to get because it's not covered in the presentation, so just want to understand.
There are two parts actually. I will give this separately to you. This production.
Okay, sir. Thanks. I'll get back into the last one. Is what would be subvention a percentage of top line in the consumer segment which was financed using subvention? Any data that you could share that we need?
This quarter is 23%.
23%. And e-commerce sales, sir?
E-commerce during the second quarter is around 30%.
Okay. Oh, that's a significant jump from historic numbers. As in, I thought we were doing much lesser, like a 15% kind of
we are doing around 23, 21. It varies. But because of that big billion days and all those things were there, the August there were there, and because of lockdown also, people were concentrating on e-commerce sales.
Got it. Does microwave have a higher saliency in e-commerce?
Yes. Srikanth Rajshankar here. Our e-commerce sales, as we put in the investor presentation, also have seen a significant uptick. Our shares have risen. And microwaves, of course, as a part of that, have done quite well.
Got it. So driven by microwave, and all categories also seen a bump up.
Yes.
Got it. Thanks a lot. Please, thank you.
Thank you. The next question from the line of Shrikant B, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Hello. Congratulations on a good set of numbers. I just wanted to, understand the progress on the indigenization of controllers for ACs. That's one. And second, with regard to the AC numbers, are we confident, like what was mentioned in the last call, are we confident about the 3 lakh number we will be able to hit this year in ACs overall?
Yeah, so this is Rajshankar here. On the AC controller localization, the field trials have been completed, and the production of the controllers for use in commercial production will start from the month of November, and it will be completed to 100% level by end of January. So this is the first point. And as far as the volume projections are concerned, over the 2-year time frame, yes, we are confident about meeting the numbers that we've spoken about.
Okay. No, my question was regarding to this financial year, in the sense that earlier it was 5 lakh. You said that we'll do 3 lakhs, both key accounts or third party and our own sales together. That number holds good, or it can go here and there?
So I don't think we'll be able to do 3 lakhs, but we would be closer to the 2.5 lakh kind of a figure, basically.
Okay. Thanks, and best of luck for the coming season.
Thank you. A reminder to all participants, you may enter star 1 to ask a question. As there are no further questions from the participant, I now hand the conference over to Mr. Mayank Bhandari from Nirmal Bang Equities for closing remarks.
Yeah, thank you. We thank the management for taking time out and sharing their valuable insights on the call. We also thank all the participants for their presence. Sir, do you have any closing remarks?
No, thank you. Thank you all for joining our call.
Thank you. On behalf of Nirmal Bang Equities Private Limited, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.
Thank you.